All right, so welcome to the Finding Research at UCLA. This is today's agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about Career Center services and resources. Then the biomedical research minor will present on their information. The undergraduate research center is here, the undergraduate science journal as well. And we have 3 student groups who will present on their offerings. EMRA, Emergency Medical Research Associates, CURE, and UCLA Stroke Team. So let's talk a little bit about the Career Center services. So no surprise, we offer counseling services. Everything is virtual at this time. We use the Zoom platform to offer counseling services. You can sign up through your HANDSHAKE account to a 30-minute career counseling appointment that we can address any questions you may have, but we also have drop-in hours every Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Those are shorter 15-minute sessions, and we limit those to resume, cover letter critiques, and job and internship search. We are not very busy in the drop-ins, so you're probably going to be seen very quickly. We have a career guide, and it's accessible online through your HANDSHAKE account and also through our Career Center website. Contains helpful information about resumes, interviewing, negotiating salaries, career exploration as well, and all sorts of other career-related topics, even graduate and professional school applications. So I strongly suggest you take a look. The pre-health services, in case you are pre-med pre-health, we offer mock interviews for medical or any other professional schools. We review personal statements, and we do those in counseling appointments. So you have to set a career counseling appointment and choose pre-health counseling. And we offer a list of webinars, workshops, and events throughout the academic year. So please check your HANDSHAKE account for upcoming events. I'm going to go through some of them. And we have 3 new, fairly new resources for pre-med pre-health students. The Pre-Health at UCLA website is one of them. The Pre-Health at UCLA Facebook page that I already mentioned that will host this webinar as well. And the pre-health newsletter that goes out bi-weekly. Actually, the next one will go out this Friday. And if you would like to receive it, please make sure that you choose healthcare as an industry preference on your HANDSHAKE account, and you will be added to the listserv, and you will be receiving the information, the newsletter automatically. You can always opt out if you think that the content doesn't apply to you. Virtual info sessions, again, they are on Zoom. Employers, recruiters still come to campus to recruit UCLA talent, but they are doing it virtually now. And you can see all the information sessions listed in your HANDSHAKE account under events. So make sure that you check in periodically to see which companies host info sessions on Zoom. And these are some of the targeted events that are coming up. MedMentor Mondays. MedMentors are a group of first and second year medical school students from David Geffen School of Medicine, and they are hosting a wide variety of workshops related to medical school applications. And these are their offerings for November. So they're going to host one on letters of recommendation, gap year planning, and a day in a life of. To register for these events, again, you can go to your HANDSHAKE account events, and you can also find out more about MedMentors on the Pre-Health at UCLA Facebook page, where they post other things that they do regularly to assist pre-med students at UCLA, coffee chats, one-on-one peer counseling. So they do a lot with us. And then there are some other targeted events coming up: Hidden Gems in Healthcare Podiatric Medicine and Hands-on Healthcare Virtual Opportunities in December. We do offer test preparation support. So the GRE strategy session just passed this Monday, but we're going to have new dates in winter and spring. And we also have a recorded GRE strategy session that's accessible both on the Pre-Health at UCLA Facebook page and also on the Career Center YouTube channel. The MCAT strategy session is still coming up in November, actually on the 2nd from 12 p.m. to 1:30. So you can still register for that. These strategy sessions will give you a nice overview of both of those tests, how to prepare for it, timeline, resources, things like that. We are doing these strategy sessions in partnership with Princeton Review. They also offer free online practice tests every quarter. It's the same test, so you can take it 3 times a year. And the GRE is actually happening this Friday, but the MCAT will be happening on November 6th. You can register for these as well through your HANDSHAKE account events. JUMPSTART series, some of you may be familiar with this. These are mostly career exploration on a particular industry, career, profession. And we have one that's coming up on optometry on the 29th. We have resources on HANDSHAKE. Focus 2 is an assessment. Vault is a great resource to research industries, companies, industry trends, and they also have a pretty robust job and internship database. Going Global is helpful for those of you who are planning to either study abroad or work abroad. You can research any corner of the world to see what are their, what is the life in those parts of the world, how expensive it is to live there. So it contains a lot of great information. Interview Stream is something that we pay for to help you prepare for preparing for an interview. There are only over 7,000 general and industry-specific interview questions in the system, and you can use it to practice interview questions. And WeMark is something new. We just added to our offerings this fall quarter, and it will help you develop a strong resume. So I recommend it strongly to use it if you are still working on your resume. Some of you may be familiar with UCLA One. It's the online alumni community. It's very similar to LinkedIn, but they have a robust mentorship program. You can find mentors on UCLA One if you're looking for one, but they also have job postings, and you can do a little bit of research on alumni on that platform. We also have online workshops, tutorials on HANDSHAKE and through our Career Center website. If you are nearing graduation, you may want to make yourself familiar with alumni services. For the most part, we can only offer services for the next 3 months after your graduation. So if you're graduating in December, you have full access to us until March. If you're graduating in June, until September, and so on. After that, you can only have partial access to us and to HANDSHAKE because Alumni Services is taking over your care. If you have any questions about Alumni Services, I'll be happy to go over it with you again. And as everybody else, we are all over the internet. We have a Facebook page, both the Career Center and the Pre-Health at UCLA. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter. We have the YouTube channel, Instagram. So feel free to look us up and follow us to get updates, information that might be helpful in your career development. If you have any questions, that is my email, and I'm going to put it in the chat as well. So feel free to reach out at any point, and you can also make appointments, and we can talk more in depth about your personal questions or personal needs. And I will stop share for now. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and I will turn on. So Ira, you are next, the biomedical research minor, and I gave you the option to share your screen. So feel free to do so. And yeah, thank you. Ira, you're muted.
All right, here I am. Yeah, so it looks like I can only see the panelists on the gallery view. That's okay. All right, I am going to share my screen then. I'm going to go straight into, well, actually, maybe we can do this. I'm going to bring up a participant list here. So I'm going to ask all of you, how many of you have heard of the biomedical research minor? And if you have, maybe you can raise your hand. Do we have hand raising potential here? Yeah, we do. Okay. All right, I'm seeing some hands raised. That's great. Looks like a bunch of you have not heard of it, which is even better because that means that I will be talking about something new. So that's great. And hopefully those of you who have heard about it are interested in learning more. So let me share my screen here. All right. Okay. So I hope you can all see the screen. So I'm going to be talking about a program that we started a little over 13 years ago at UCLA. It's an interdepartmental minor, which means that students can come from any major. It's not associated with a particular major. And it's centered around research in the life sciences or biology-related research, biomedical research. Our initial funding came from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, which is why you see them recognized at the bottom right over here. But we're fully supported by UCLA right now. So this program was originally started by Utpal Banerjee, who is a professor in molecular cell and developmental biology. He was our founding director and director for the first 10 years of the program. And he received a grant from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute to start this program. For the last 3.5 years or so, our director has been Dr. Tracy Johnson, who just recently became the Dean of Life Sciences. I'm associate director of the program, and our student affairs officer, shown here, is Ira Ramos. We have a fantastic instructional team of lecturers and instructors under other titles, Dr. Kirsten Turlow, Dr. Amy Fluitt, Dr. Carrie Spratford, and Dr. Diana Rigger. And they really, teach most of our classes. I do a little bit of teaching as well, and so does Dr. Johnson. So the minor, as I said, started about 13.5 years ago, spring of 2007. It is centered around independent research in the laboratory. And this slide is a little out of date, but so far we have provided intensive research training to over 750 students in more than 250 laboratories at UCLA across the campus. So this is at the college, the School of Medicine, the School of Engineering, School of Nursing, School of Dentistry. We're really, we've pervaded the entire research community here at UCLA. Our website is shown at the bottom here, and I'll have that again at the end of the presentation. So as I said, we're an interdepartmental minor, so students can come from any major, but unlike a lot of other minors, you can't just declare this minor. You do have to apply to get into the minor. And we, among other things, we require a minimum GPA of 3.0. I'll say a little bit more about the application later in this presentation. So what is the minor going to give you? It will provide training as a research scientist. So we we don't necessarily expect every student who goes through our minor to pursue a career in research and go to graduate school, but we want you to be fully prepared to enter that career and go to graduate school if that's what you choose. So we really structure our whole program so that you develop the skills that you need to pursue a PhD and a career in research. As you'll see in a minute, we're going to require that you do at least 4 quarters of letter-graded research and ultimately write a thesis on your research. And so we don't feel that it's fair to say you have to do all of this research and write a thesis and present your work in a poster in order to complete the minor. Good luck finding a lab. We'll see you in a couple of years. So if you're in a lab when you join the minor and you're happy there and you're getting good mentorship, you can stay in that lab, no problem. But most of our students who come to the minor are not already in a lab. And so we actually will meet with you individually and help to place you in a lab. And we do that in a guided way that lines up with your research interests, but also takes into account what we already have learned about the mentorship in that lab. We have a strong undergraduate research community at UCLA. You're going to hear from Dr. Janet Goins from the Undergraduate Research Center in a short while. And they lead a number of research-based programs that collectively form this incredibly vibrant research community of undergraduate students at UCLA. And the minor is part of that, but we also have our own student group within the minor called the Biomedical Research Society, and they run events and workshops and so forth. And so it's a very cohesive community. And finally, our curriculum, as you'll see in a minute, is interdisciplinary. So, a lot of it is based on the natural sciences, but we also integrate social sciences and humanities. So these are the course requirements for the minor. Everybody who comes into the minor is required to take a course called Biomedical Research 5HB. And this is really centered around teaching you how to design well-controlled experiments and really how to design an entire research project. We're going to ask you to do at least 4 quarters of letter-graded research. That would typically be 199. That will culminate in a thesis that you'll write when you graduate. But it's important to recognize that a number of the majors, like MCDB, MIMG, neuroscience, physiological science, will give you credit towards your upper division requirements for research that you conduct in the laboratory. And up to 2 quarters of that can be double dipped with the minor. So you can have 2 quarters of overlap of research that you've done that is simultaneously being applied to your major requirements and the minor requirements. You're going to have to take a seminar class, Biomedical Research 193H. This will teach you how to read and analyze primary research literature. So the papers, when people publish their research, you want to be able to read that critically and analyze it. Biomedical Research 194H is another 2-unit seminar class that will it'll teach you how to present your research. So you will prepare and present a seminar on your project that you're conducting in the lab to all of your classmates, and you will hear presentations by your classmates as well. There's a course called MCDB 60, which is a biomedical ethics course. This is a GE course in philosophical analysis. It's required for the minor. And so if you have not fulfilled your GE in philosophical analysis and you're thinking about doing this minor, try to use 60 to fulfill that GE. And finally, we require an upper division history or philosophy or sociology of science elective course. We've got over 20 options to choose from this. You choose one, and that goes towards fulfilling the minor. So I think there might have been a question in the chat, but I can't really tell. So I will look at that at the end, and I'll try to finish quickly and answer questions at the end. Okay, research requirements for the minor. As I said, you're going to have to do at least 4 quarters of letter graded research. That's typically 199. Departmental honors, if you're pursuing that in your major, is under 198. That will count as well. Some majors have a 196 course that's letter graded. That counts. You choose from labs at the college, the School of Medicine, School of Engineering, anywhere around the campus. We're going to meet with you individually to help guide the lab choice to match up with your interests. You're going to have to present your work at least one conference on campus. There are poster sessions in the spring, usually. The Undergraduate Research Center runs a really big one every year. And you're going to have to write a thesis at the end of your work. At the end, the last quarter that you are here enrolled at UCLA is when the thesis is due. So, you know, if you do several quarters of research in the lab, you can sometimes end up generating really valuable data for your lab's project. And if they end up publishing that work, you will often end up as a co-author on that paper. And this, again, is out of date, but by now we've got over 350 publications in peer-reviewed journals that have one or more of our students as co-authors on it. Over 240 students from the minor are authors on papers. There are 25 papers that have one of our students as a first author. And 42% of our alumni have at least one paper that's come out of their undergraduate research. So as I said, to apply to the minor, or to get into the minor, you have to apply. And in order to apply, you have to take one of our introductory courses. And we have 4 options. Biomedical Research 5HA is a course that follows a strategy we call research deconstruction. You're going to hear a seminar by an invited speaker that will be essentially identical to this research seminar that they would give as an invited speaker at a conference. So it's really designed for a PhD level audience. Nobody understands a word of it, but we videotape the seminar, put it on our website, on the course website, that is, so you can review it whenever you want. And then the instructor of the course breaks down that seminar with you. And by the end of 7 of these deconstruction classes, you understand that really well. And to prove it, we bring the speaker back for an hour-long question and answer session. And those are really just fantastic discussions. That's half the course. We do it again for a second seminar for the other half of the course. So that's one choice. Biomedical Research 10H is another choice. This is a class, it's 6 units, so it's a little bit more work, but you will be doing hands-on research on an actual authentic research project that you and your classmates and students from several quarters worth are all working collectively on. Eventually, we hope to publish that work. And if we publish the project associated with the quarter that you were enrolled, we make you a co-author on that paper because you generated data for the paper. We just published a paper last November that has 275 students from 10H as co-authors on the paper, and we have another one that's under review that has 325 student authors. MCDB 30H is another option. This is run by Dr. Johnson, and it's associated with their HHMI Pathways program. And Honors Collegium 70A is a 4th option that's taught by Dr. Bob Goldberg. And it is about how recombinant DNA plays a role in all sorts of different fields: medicine, agriculture, law, industry, et cetera. It's offered once a year, I think in the winter. Okay, this is what a typical timeline for applying to the minor might look like. This is just an example. Let's say you just heard about the minor this quarter. You take one of the introductory courses in the winter. You apply to the minor that same quarter. You do not have to wait until you complete the course. You can apply during the quarter. And let's say you're admitted. Hooray. All right. Well, then in the next quarter, you'll take the 5HB course, and we will meet with you to help place you in a lab. You'll start in that lab, let's say in the summer or in the following fall, and then you can do 4 quarters of 199 while fulfilling your other courses, ultimately writing a thesis, this is assuming, say, that you came in as a junior, so you're graduating in summer of 2022. But it's just one of a number of different sample timelines, and you get your diploma. Hooray. All right. Our applications will open next week. They're not live yet, but they're going to open up next week. They're available on our website, which is shown at the bottom here. The applications close Friday of week 7. They are, we have an application cycle every quarter. If you apply and you're not admitted, you can reapply. You can keep doing that as many times as you want through fall of your 3rd year. If you're a transfer student, we take applications into winter of your 3rd year. So again, if you want more information or an application, go to our website. And Jairo is our student affairs officer. He's our counselor for the program, and he can also answer any questions that you might have. But now I will be happy to take questions at this point. So let's see here. Oh, okay. I guess that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing.
If you guys have any questions, you can put it either in the chat or the Q&A, or you can reach out to Ira later if that works. That works for you, Ira? Yeah,
that does work for me. I have one question here on the Q&A.
Go ahead.
If we've already fulfilled the philosophical minor, will we be able to take the intro course? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the philosophical minor, but the introductory courses that I listed are required for anybody who wants to apply to the minor. You don't have to take all 4, you just take one. And that's kind of separate from the like bioethics or you know, upper division electives that we mentioned. And our minor students doing research in the lab during the pandemic, a very small number are. These are students who had already been part of their labs before the pandemic and have been approved to still be in the lab. But newer students are only doing research remotely, and most of our students are doing research remotely. What do you look at when determining if someone gets in or not? We are looking for your passion for research and science. This, as you see, there's a lot of research that you have to do. You have to make sure that it's the right program for you, and that, you know, this is going to be a program where you'll be happy and thrive, and that way you'll get the most out of it, and the program will succeed as well. If you have any other questions, please feel free to write Jairo or me, and I will share my slides with Christina, so you'll have access to our email address. Thank you so much for your attention, and best of luck this fall.
Thank you so much, Jairo. Thank you. And next up is Dr. Goins, who represents the Undergraduate Research Center.
Well, thank you very much. Also, thank you, Dr. Clark, for giving us a particular shout out. I like to also think that we have a very robust community of undergraduate students that includes your biomedical minor students and also students across the campus as well. So what we do basically falls into 3 categories. We, we can help you get course credit in exchange for your research. We offer professional development through our online resources, as well as through the programs we offer. And then we also offer, best of all, financial support, right? We want to get money, get paid to do research. So to get course credit, we have our Student Research Program 99 or SRP 99. You can get 1 to 2 units for doing between basically 5 to 10 hours a week of research. And that's a pass, no pass course. You work it out with your faculty mentor. You do need to have a faculty mentor first. So that's something to keep in mind. We don't place students into labs. We'll help you find a lab, but you're the best judge of the type of research you want to do and the mentoring that you specifically need. So we have some workshops and FAQs to help get you started. But we also have some other resources to help you get started in research. Our big one is our undergraduate research portal. This is available under academics on my UCLA. You can view opportunities that are being posted by faculty for on campus, but we've also partnered with the Career Center. And so we have external opportunities that are appropriate for undergraduate researchers also posted in the portal. You can create a profile that faculty can look through as they're looking for students who have a particular set of skills they need or particular interests that they're looking for in a student researcher. And I also recommend that you keep checking this regularly because we're constantly updating it. So if you don't see something there you like, check back again in the future. But also don't let this stop you from reaching out to faculty directly. And one of the nice things is you can go ahead and create a very robust profile in the portal and share that to faculty. So you can go ahead and answer all these questions one and done, and then faculty can see your interest in your experiences and the coursework that you've taken. You can reach out to the faculty through networking opportunities, go to office hours, talk to your graduate teaching assistants who are helping you in your courses. And again, you can take advantage of some online advice that we have, as well as workshops that help get you prepared to reach out to faculty and to start research. These slides will also be made available to you so you can take advantage of these hyperlinks for you. And a quick run through of some kind of pro tips. Definitely be professional when you reach out to potential research mentors, and go ahead and make sure you already know about the lab and let them know specifically why that lab and how that research is going to fit into your goals. No one dislikes, I think, a form letter more than some faculty. We get lots and lots of emails, and if we can tell it's a form letter, we're probably not even going to respond to it. And I can tell you from personal experience getting emails from students, it's a dead giveaway when they mention something that my lab doesn't do. Like, well, yeah, I know. So just be mindful of that. And you want to share what you can bring to the table. So go ahead and share how many hours a week you can devote, how many quarters you're still going to be around for, what other experiences or coursework that you've done there. But if you're thinking, I don't have any prior research experience, well, then you're a typical undergraduate here at UCLA. That's the case for all of us, or most of us who get started in research, is we start as undergraduates fresh. Also, the question is, can you start doing research now? And the answer to that is definitely yes. Admittedly, there are fewer opportunities because, as Dr. Clark already talked about, most of our research for undergraduates is being done remotely due to the health concerns. So primarily these are going to be computational type of projects, but don't let that stop you from at least making connections that can lead to future opportunities. Learn about potential projects, start reading background papers, and you can start working on programming or any sort of analytical skills that you may need. And we prepared some suggestions for remote research and mentoring. So we advise you to take a look through that, and you can kind of bring that to the table when you start talking to potential mentors about research projects that you'd like to do with them. We have a number of students that are just working on their programming skills and doing literature reviews and preparing themselves to be back in the lab when it's safe to do so. On our website, we have links to a number of different resources for you. So, and also through our programs, we'll help you with your science communication, both in written form and verbally, as well as applying to graduate school and to different fellowships. We also help support students we have a long list of conferences that we know cater to undergraduate audiences for presentations. And we also offer travel grants to help support you get to those conferences, or at least pay for the registration fees. We also share information about student groups on campus that work with us that are focused on promoting undergraduate research, as well as helping to reach out to our community at large. One in particular I'm going to call out is our undergraduate science journal. I know you're going to hear from them in just a few moments, so I hope I don't steal too much of their thunder. I have the privilege of being their faculty mentor, and this is a great opportunity for you to participate in creating a beautiful professional publication that is put together by undergraduate students, and all the articles are authored by undergraduate students. And or you can be an author for the undergraduate science journal, and you can submit an original review paper or research paper, and we welcome students from all different STEM fields. And in addition to the undergraduate science journal, many other student groups are recruiting right now, so I definitely recommend that you take a look because now's a good time to get yourself familiar and reach out to them. And then Dr. Clark also mentioned we have an annual week where we celebrate undergraduate research on campus. And that has a number of different special events from different departments across the campus. And we have a particularly large day that we call Research Poster Day, where in the past we've taken over Poly Pavilion and we've had over 1,000 presenters present at our last event. Due to COVID-19 concerns, certainly we don't want to cram a bunch of people into a closed space. That's a bad idea and really anti-science. So what we've done is we converted it to a virtual undergraduate research showcase. We did that this past year, and that's what we are already planning to do. It will be May 25th of 2021, and students, very similar to our poster day, will get to share their research. We're going to have them present as live presentations as well as pre-recorded presentations, getting to share your research. And then linking up with other groups on campus about their different celebrations of undergraduate research at UCLA. Then I definitely need to get to the funding part. We have basically funding for everyone. So as my boss likes to say, if you're human, you can apply. And I just strongly recommend take a look through our programs on our website. They're also in the undergraduate research portal, along with other scholarship opportunities for you. And you'll find something that fits your career interest and your major and your current status at UCLA. A couple of programs I want to point out for you as you're getting started. One is the Care Fellows program. This is a fantastic program as you get entered into research. This is for students who are coming from underrepresented populations, underrepresented in the STEM fields. And this is also a great gateway into programs that can help support you up until you graduate. So you get started with Care Fellows for 1 quarter, and depending on how you do in that program, you can be invited to kind of stick with the program for up until you graduate. So if you're eligible for this, definitely consider it and apply. If you're not, don't worry about it because we've got lots of scholarships to go around. Our 2 largest programs are our Undergraduate Research Fellows program and our Undergraduate Research Scholars programs. Both of these are for students of all majors, all backgrounds, kind of anyone can apply. The Fellows program gives you up to $3,000 for the winter and spring quarter, and our applications for that are currently open, so definitely take a look. And our Undergraduate Research Scholars program provides $4,500 for juniors and $6,000 for seniors for the entire academic year. So again, definitely take a look. You should definitely find something that fits what you need. And then lastly, I just also want to encourage you to follow us on the internet, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We like to showcase students and celebrate their research, but we also send out a lot of information, not just about our center, but about our campus partners that are doing things that are of interest for our STEM students here on campus, whether they be some resources or events that are going on. And with that, I will just thank you all very much for your attention. And if there happen to be any questions, I will gladly answer them. But if not, I can just turn it over to our next speaker. So take a look.
If you guys have any questions, please type it in the Q&A. And if the questions are coming as we move on, everybody can just stay on the Q&A and answer the questions that come to them. So feel free to type in any questions you may have.
Yes, I will stay around and can answer questions as you come.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. And now it's a great segue because you did start already to introduce the Undergraduate Science Journal. So I welcome Jessica and Callista to talk a little bit more about their journal.
Thank you for the introduction, Christina. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are the Undergraduate Science Journal at UCLA. My name is Jessica Singh, and I'm the co-editor-in-chief this year, along with Callista Wu, with Dr. Janet Goins as our amazing faculty advisor. So the USJ at UCLA is a peer-reviewed publication. We are registered with the Library of Congress, and we feature innovative new research across a variety of STEM fields performed by undergrads here at UCLA. And we're really pleased to announce that this year will mark the 34th volume of the USJ here at UCLA.
Yeah, so just to elaborate a little bit more about USJ, so we are an annual student-run scientific journal publication, and our mission is really to showcase the research that's carried out by UCLA undergraduate students across all scientific fields, and we want to expose the local community to all of the research that's conducted by students with our local community, and our print publication is circulated in 1,200 copies to students, faculty, and the UCLA community.
So getting involved with the USJ has a lot of perks. As a member of the USJ, you're really interacting with other students that are actively working on research projects themselves. This is a huge plus because you get a very unique insight not only into publishing research, but also the science itself. You also gain a lot of hands-on experience with scientific writing by going through that process. So you'll know what good writing and communication entails, which is really essential for basically any sort of career that you do pursue in the future. You use your imagination, knowledge, and skills to make science and research accessible to everyone. You get the opportunity to contribute to and strengthen scientific discussion here at UCLA. I know many people think of undergrad as sort of the starting point of science, but science at this level can be just as complex and enriching as any other level. But you'll definitely see that when you experience the projects that other students are working on, and that the scientific community here at UCLA is actually really strong. You get to practice scientific communication. Again, just as with writing, communication is a key skill that takes years to master, and that can only help you in the future. And you'll definitely see how important it is here at USJ. And you get an experience that normally occurs during grad school. So publishing research is something that's generally more akin to grad students, and you'll get a great taste of it here at the undergrad level, which is huge. We've had students go on to grad schools and come back and tell us that, hey, it was so much easier going through the process of publishing my articles now because of my experience publishing with the USJ, which is always awesome. And finally, you do get a hands-on experience with an active peer review process, which is always great.
So to go over kind of the hierarchy of our staff, so we have me and Jessica as the editors-in-chiefs, and we have 3 managing editors, and their roles are to oversee all the decisions and are responsible for each of their own subdivisions of the journal. So we have 3 different branches. We have the review, editorial, and layout boards, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in future slides. But under the managing editors, they will also be selecting their own assistant managing editors, and these members work with managing editors to ensure that all deadlines are met and staff members are on task and are familiar with everything they need to be doing. So we'll talk about the application in a little bit, but we are recruiting for assistant managing editors for each of these boards.
So as Callista just explained, under MEs and AMEs, we have 3 general boards, review, editorial, and layout. And the process of publishing also follows this general order. So review members basically read through the article submissions that we get very critically and ultimately decide which articles are to be published and which are not. Review evaluates the figures, the cited sources, and validity of scientific reasoning in the papers that we get. So this is really the first round of our really rigorous evaluation of our articles. The articles are then passed on to editorial board members who review and edit the articles for organization, grammar, flow, proper citation formatting, all of which is really important to preserve proper scientific writing and communication within the journal. And finally, layout board receives the peer-reviewed articles, and they collaborate and work out on the layout and design of the journal, and they make it the beautiful publication that you do see at the end. So
to give you a general timeline of how active each board is. So in winter quarter, so January through March, the editorial and review boards are typically more active during winter quarter. So this is when authors have submitted their final manuscripts and they're revising their articles with edits from editorial and review. And the articles are typically due during spring break. And throughout this winter quarter, we also have our USJ honors course, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But this course essentially gears everybody up to take on the responsibilities of putting together the journal. And then after spring break, this is when layout board is most active. So they're generally more active towards the three quarters of spring quarter. And this is when there are final revisions made by faculty and editors, and layout board is putting the final articles into an InDesign layout. And then in April, we'll send off our final copy to our printer. And by the end of June, we'll have our banquet where we get to celebrate everybody's hard work, including all of the authors and staff members and faculty advisors that contributed to the journal.
Sorry. Apart from joining the staff, we also hope that you submit your own scientific writing. You can submit both review and research articles for publication. Review articles, for those of you who aren't familiar, are summaries of the current state of a particular research issue or field, which are really important. So when you're beginning to formulate a research question, you don't have the time or resources to read through hundreds of articles. It's better to read a review article so that you can further narrow down your topic of interest. Additionally, you can also submit your original research. All submitted articles can be additionally submitted to other larger publications. So this is a great way to get your manuscript in better shape for later submissions. And grad schools understand that it's actually really difficult to get published in a recognized journal. Usually when you do, it's out of luck. You're just tagged on at the end. So publishing an article that's your own, mainly researched and written by you, it's very impressive.
So all of our staff members are required to take a course called Honors Collegium 101B. This is mandatory for all staff members because, as we mentioned before, it kind of prepares all of our members to take on the responsibilities that are required to be a part of staff and to play an active role in the scientific publishing process. So this is a two-unit, 1 quarter pass no pass honors credit course, and it's in winter quarter. We hold meetings Wednesdays 5 to 7 p.m. and this is 5 meetings throughout the entire quarter. And essentially what we'll be doing is having board workshops and journal clubs to help guide you through doing the process so that you have preparation before you do it for real. And again, this is mandatory for all staff members.
So if you are interested in joining the USJ, you can apply to join any of the 3 boards that we mentioned that may interest you. We welcome all majors, all disciplines, and anyone is really welcome to join, regardless of whether you have experience with publishing or research or anything at all.
So if we've convinced you to apply, our applications are available at uclausj.weebly.com. There's a tab that says join staff, and our applications are due Friday, November 15th. And all you have to do is fill out that application and email it back to us. You can also view a list of all of the roles and responsibilities that we're recruiting for. And again, we're open to all majors and all different experience levels.
So yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us at any of the 3 points listed: our website, our email, our Facebook page. We also have an Instagram now at USJ UCLA, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns you might have. But for now, also, we'll take any questions you might have. The floor is open.
As mentioned earlier, feel free to post questions in the Q&A or the chat, whichever is more comfortable. And all right, while we are waiting for questions, I'm going to introduce Rishabh from EMRA. I am not sure if he can hear me.
Yes, hello everyone.
Yes, awesome. Hi. Do you need to share
Sorry.
your screen?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen right now.
Okay, then hold one sec, because I am not sure that you can. And you disappeared from my panel. Oh, here you are. Hold on. Yeah, co-host. Perfect.
Okay, are you guys able to see this?
Yes, we are. Jessica, Callista, please stay on a little bit longer in case students post some question in the Q&A, and thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so I will get started to introduce the Emergency Medicine Research Associates. So we are an on-campus organization that deals with clinical research in the emergency department at Ronald Reagan Hospital. So we're a team of around 30 to 40 students. And the primary thing, as I said earlier, is we're getting involved with clinical research. So it's interesting in contrast to what we've already been talking about earlier today, especially for those of you that were around for Dr. Clark's quick presentation about the biomedical research minor. Biomedical research kind of focuses on basic science and translational research that you'll see on this slide. The clinical trials that EMRA gets involved with is kind of the late stage of that research. So the application of the research that's being done afterwards. So if you're doing basic science and there's a new drug that has been found and it wants to get tested, how does it get tested in a clinical environment? How do you test that procedure and properly among a clinical group of patients? That's basically what EMRA gets involved with in the emergency department. And there's different types of research that involves. So there's behavioral research, cost effectiveness of different types of medications, epidemiological characterization of different types of disease and the way it may progress in a population. We engage with community-based trials. There's different disease mechanisms in terms of pathophysiology that we're interested in understanding. And in general, we get a good idea of clinical knowledge through the process and how different therapeutic interventions are implemented based on a patient's presentation to the emergency department. And then there's also different trials that engage with prevention research. So kind of to dive into what EMRA is specifically dealing with, especially in what's happening right now. A typical EMRA, the way it works is we do screening and enrollment of patients into clinical research trials. So what that means is we as an EMRA on a typical shift in the hospital, we would be in our office and we have a computer set up and we have access to all the patient charts that are in the ED at the moment. And we go through the process of going through these charts, identifying patients that are eligible for certain clinical trials. And then based off of that, we'll go down into the ED and consent patients to these studies. And these studies are very different in terms of what they're addressing. So just for a few examples, one of the studies that we do is an abdominal CT study. So for patients presenting to the ED that have a critical or an intermediate tier trauma, so either they've gotten to an accident or they've fallen down from a particular height, those patients will present to the trauma room. And basically our assessment is we would get paged for that particular trauma. We would go down to the ED and we would watch the assessment for that particular patient. And we would provide the resident or the attending that's covering that specific trauma a diagnostic tool in which they would fill out. And this would basically the ultimate goal of this study is to identify when is it necessary to provide an abdominal CT for patients that are presenting with traumas. And this tool that we're providing to residents and attendings is to help differentiate patients into whether it's necessitated or not. There's a bunch of different studies that we have as well. Clovers deals with sepsis, MI deals with myocardial infarctions, and Impala deals with patients that are prospective palliative care patients. And then future studies that we may get involved with do deal with COVID-19. I'll get into what we're doing during the COVID-19 crisis in a minute, but some of these involve studies dealing with convalescent plasma and how effective it is. And some deal with specific biomarkers that we're testing in the blood to see if there's kind of changes on the hemodynamic level to see if there's anything that's happening there. So there's a lot of different studies that we get involved with. It's a very varied experience and you get a lot of different type of exposure just by being in this program. And then I'll move on to the next slide. And this kind of is gonna just cover what else we offer just outside of the shift experience. So basically, EMRAs, when you get involved with the program, there is the core component of the program, and then there's additional factors and support systems that we're trying to offer to our members. So the core experience is what I've already been talking about. You're on shift, you're getting exposure in the ED, as well as going through patient charts to enroll patients to trials. But outside of that, we also want to engage our members, you know, in a more supportive manner. And in that sense, we have established a few committees as the leadership team. One of these is the mentorship committee. So we have some of our senior staff as well as senior students that are in the program, and we work on mentoring, you know, new EMRAs that are coming into the program as a way to get them up off their feet and understand what UCLA life is like as a pre-med. And then outside of that, we also have mentorship that comes from the resident level. So we have residents that come from the ED that also mentor some of our students. And then we also have alumni from the program that come and mentor our students. So there's a lot of mentorship that's involved, not just within the student group, but outside from a professional and career level, all the way down to just a peer level. We have the research committee. The research committee basically is an opportunity for us as students to really delve into the clinical research articles that are currently popular in the different journals that are out there. So currently we have a journal club, and that allows us as students to break down current research and discuss it. And it's convenient that a lot of times we have residents that come and pop in, and they also give their perspective on what they know during our journal clubs. And that's a really incredible opportunity to hear from professionals regarding those topics. We also offer new member training. So if you're interested in coaching and teaching new students about pathophysiology of certain diseases and teaching them the protocols for our different studies, that's a great way, especially after you join the program, to give back to the new students that are coming in. And then lastly, we offer shadowing and SRP credit. So shadowing, obviously right now that's not feasible, but when we didn't have COVID, we offered shadowing opportunities to our students where they're allowed to go into the ED and shadow different residents and attendings throughout the year. And then also we offer SRP credit. We also offer SRP 99 for all of our students that join the program. And then for a few students who we have some applied to positions where you can get SRP 199, where you're getting a little bit more directly involved with the research and the analysis and manuscript writing for some of our studies. But yeah, like that's kind of the basic gist of what EMRA is and what we do and what we offer. I highly encourage all of you to scan this QR code or follow our socials at UCLA EMRA. Currently, we're recruiting, and our application is actually due tomorrow. So I highly encourage you all to take a quick look at it. It's a very short application. It's only 4 questions. And yeah, I think, you know, it's a really incredible opportunity. Currently during COVID, obviously there's different things that we're doing for our members because we can't be in the hospital all the time. So I guess to cover that a little bit as well, right now during COVID, we have this thing called EMRA Days. So EMRA Days are just, we have a few days pulled out throughout the quarter that we have, you know, our members that are involved in the club to show up, and we have residents, attendings come in and give presentations on various topics. So last week we had a topic on trauma interventions. The week before that we had a topic covering, I think, diversity in medicine. So we cover a lot of topics in terms of just medicine in general, whether it's in the ED or outside of the ED. We have our members, they give presentations as well. And then outside of that, we've been hosting a lot of workshops for our students. And that includes, you know, protocol design, like how are we redesigning protocols using, you know, the background of these pathophysiological mechanisms, and then applying it to how we're screening and enrolling patients in the studies. So there's a lot of different opportunities that we're trying to create during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're also trying to shift into coming back onto shift remotely within the next few weeks to months. So hopefully for those of you that are considering applying the cycle, by the time that you get in, hopefully, you know, you may be able to engage in the research in the same way that we did before. The only thing that would prevent us is just going into the ED itself, but you would still be able to read through charts and access information in that way. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to message the chat. I'll stick around and make sure to answer questions.
Thank you so much for this. And yes, please stick around in case students have some questions. I have one question myself. How many students do you accept each cycle?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it really varies from cycle to cycle. It's really dependent on what the needs of the ED are at the time. So if we are able to get approval for coming back onto shift at any point, I'm assuming that our numbers are going to increase, but kind of as a general number, it's usually around 5 to 10 students per cycle.
Thank you. All right, we are on time. I'm so surprised. Actually, we still have 5 minutes to spare. So I'm going to invite Neela to introduce CURE. And Neela, feel free to share your screen.
Sure.
And there is a question in the Q&A for Emra.
Okay, hi guys. We are CURE at UCLA. We stand for Collaboration in Undergraduate Research Enrichment. So what CURE is? So our mission is we're an organization that provides undergraduate researchers an experience to how to navigate research at UCLA. We aim to provide students with resources and mentorship that they need to succeed through the implementation of an internal curriculum and external workshops. CURE integrates resources and information from student organizations, faculty, and the Undergraduate Research Center to provide students with a comprehensive and cohesive guide to approach undergraduate research. So what can CURE do for you? So again, we want to help you grow in your passion for research. We want to assist you in the lab application process, how to find labs, how to email labs, what to put in your emails, all those things we're here to help you with. We want to guide you through the very many campus resources that are available for undergraduates who are interested in research. We want to help you take initiative in your lab and progress in your research and provide you the tools and skills to talk and write about science. These are very important tools to have when you're in a lab setting, and we want to help and improve our members who decide to join this club. Excuse me one second. Okay, yeah. So workshops are open to everyone on campus there that want to get involved. And kind of how this club is set up, there's 2 tracks. There's the external workshops. So the external workshops include topics such as finding areas of interest, getting into labs, navigating SRP contracts, scholarships, and opportunities in research. These external workshops are open to everyone. You don't need to apply to them. And again, all students are welcome. And so the second tract for this club is called the internal track. These are weekly modules throughout the year. Some fall curriculum modules that we plan to talk about are finding your research interests and applying to labs. And future topics we plan to include are reading scientific papers, writing abstracts, and applying for funding and preparing for poster day. And kind of the hallmark thing about this club is the mentorship program that we have. So based on your interests or research interests, we pair you up with a mentor who has experience in that area that you want to do research in. And the whole purpose of this is to, find someone who has experience, get to, learn from them, share tips and advice, and make connections as well. How can you get involved in CURE? So again, with the external curriculum, there's no application required. It's open to everyone on campus, and it's just a show up to meeting. It's a very informational meeting. And the internal curriculum, you can join as a mentor or a mentee. So this is the mentorship program that I was talking about. For mentors, we want you to have obviously research experience, and for mentees, you don't need to have any experience at all. But we do require showing up at weekly meetings. It's very important, and an application is required for both positions. Internal track member expectations. So it's open to anyone with a passion for research, whether you want to pursue your PhD, MD, PhD. We want to attend at least 70% of meetings every quarter. There's a 2-hour weekly time commitment for both mentors and mentees. And there is a commitment through the end of spring quarter. And also there's a refundable $3 fee for mentees if you're accepted. And also acceptance of mentees is based on availability on the compatibility of mentors. We'll accept the mentees if we have a mentor for you. And if you want to find the application or are interested, we also had a more detailed info session, and that's recorded and up at our website. So if you guys are interested, please check it out. And if you have any questions, you can send it to our email. And that's it.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Any questions for Cure? Again, feel free to type it in the Q&A. And Neela, if you don't mind sticking around in case you get some questions.
Sure.
All right. So, and I would like to introduce Mindy, who's here to represent UCLA stroke team. So Mindy, take it over.
Yeah, so I'll be sharing my screen. So thank you for the introduction, Christina. I'll be presenting on stroke team today. So I'm the external affairs coordinator for stroke team, and I'll be speaking a little bit about what our program does, how you can join, and what our role is in the ER. So some background about our program before we get started. So we were started in 1992, so almost 30 years ago, by Dr. Sydney Starkman, who's a physician in the neurology and emergency medicine departments at Ronald Reagan Medical Center. And he continues to head our program even today. And as a team, we operate from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. for 7 days a week for 365 days a year. So this means that we have someone from our team on shift responding to code strokes during those times. And during those shifts, our members serve basically as the eyes and ears of the UCLA Brain Attack Team. So the UCLA Brain Attack Team is a team of physicians, residents, fellows who respond to code strokes or stroke patients who come into Ronald Reagan Medical Center. And the ultimate goal of our program is to assist doctors in identifying stroke patients in the emergency room who might qualify for enrollment in clinical trials for novel stroke therapies. So what are our roles in the ER? So we basically observe the exam of the patient. So as soon as the patient comes into the emergency room, you have residents, fellows, attendings coming to examine the patient, and we're there right beside them, obtaining the time of onset of stroke symptoms, which is really critical for determining whether or not the patient would be eligible for clinical trials. We also determine relevant symptoms as well as previous medical history. So all of this information is really critical in determining whether or not the patient would be eligible for one of our current ongoing clinical trials. Once we've collected all that information, we then present the pertinent information to Dr. Starkman, and then together we determine if the patient qualifies for enrollment and facilitate the enrollment of the patient if they are eligible. So some of our clinical trials that were ongoing before the COVID-19 pandemic. So we had 5 different trials that were going on. We had CSPC, Seacoast, Tesseract BA, and Tiger. So CSPC was specifically looking at an add-on to the standard of care for acute ischemic strokes, which is a specific type of stroke. And it looked at whether MVP capsules would have anti-inflammatory, amongst many other effects, for acute ischemic stroke patients. Seacoast then compared patients who received general anesthesia with normal carbon dioxide levels versus patients with mildly elevated carbon dioxide levels in a procedure called mechanical thrombectomy. So that's basically a procedure where a catheter is inserted into the body all the way up to the brain in order to pull out a clot mechanically. We also had Tesseract and Tesseract BA. So these are pretty similar, but both were looking at whether transcranial direct current stimulation was able to reduce the loss of salvageable penumbra or salvageable tissue in the brain. And finally, Tiger is also related to mechanical thrombectomy, which I just talked about. So this was looking at whether a specific device called the Tiger Triever device would be more efficient than other mechanical thrombectomy devices because it allowed the physician more control in approaching the blood clot in the brain. So these were 5 of our clinical trials that were ongoing before the pandemic, but we've had many more in the past that have already concluded enrollment. So what are the benefits of joining stroke team? So on the left, we have benefits that are more specific to in-person clinical research. So just like every other clinical organization at UCLA right now, our activities are currently on pause due to the pandemic. But on the right, we also have a lot of benefits for our current remote setup. So starting with the benefits for in-person clinical research, the stroke team offers emergency room exposure and along with that clinical research experience. So that's pretty straightforward, but beyond that, we also offer the opportunity to observe and interact with UCLA's top neurologists. We also offer neuro rounds. So these are morning neurology rounds where physicians come together and discuss recent stroke cases and treatment plans. And we're also well integrated into the neurology team. So you're not just a passive observer, but you're also helping in identifying patients who might be eligible for our clinical trials. And we also have minimal busy work. So we try to give all our members opportunities that would be learning experiences rather than busy work. Currently, what our team is doing, we're continuing to have resident and fellow guest speakers at general meetings. Our team also looks at case studies and papers and looks at what kinds of treatments are given, as well as looking at imaging to help determine what type of stroke a patient might have. We also have medical student alumni panels. So many of our alumni have gone on to medical school. So we usually invite them back to answer any questions about medical school. We have weekly research papers on stroke and vascular neurology. So our members usually select these weekly research papers. So our members have chosen a wide variety of topics relating to stroke and vascular neurology. Like we've had some recent papers on COVID-19 and the impact of that on acute ischemic stroke. And we also do topic presentations, again, where members are able to choose topics that interest them. Like one example was we had one of our member groups do a presentation on video game therapy for stroke patients. Okay, so that's a little bit of information about our program. So unfortunately, our fall 2020 recruitment cycle just ended this past Saturday. But on the good news, we do have a recruitment cycle every quarter. So our next recruitment cycle will be early winter 2021. The QR code there on the right has the links to join our mailing list, as well as to our website and all our social media. So you should definitely join our mailing list to receive recruitment updates. And in terms of eligibility requirements, so we do require all our applicants to be current UCLA undergraduates. So either first, second, third, or non-graduating fourth year, because you do need to commit at least 1 year to the program, that you have at least 1 quarter of established UCLA GPA. So usually by winter quarter, this isn't really a problem for most students, and that you've completed your minimum requirement if you were previously a volunteer with UCLA Health through a different program. So that's basically it for stroke team. Feel free to scan the QR code, and I'll also stick around if you have any questions. Or I can answer them now as well if anyone has any questions about our team.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mindy. And now it's the time to post questions. We still have Neela, Rishabh, and Mindy to answer questions for you. So please feel free to post them in the Q&A.